Hey guys, what's up? How's it going? And welcome to Real Time, where we are live talking about film and television and everything in between. Today's guest I'm very excited to have on is a group that I grew up listening to who have important messages and they spread it through their music. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Native Deen. Let's jump right into it. What's up, everybody? Mustafa Talib here with Cinema King Productions. And like I said, I'm very excited with today's guest, people who have inspired me to get into music partially in my lifetime and also to help spread a good message, that of Islam, that of peace, and any social issues that are going around. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome some of the members of Native Deen. Assalamu alaikum, guys.
Welcome.
Wa alaikum salam.
Abdul Malik, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm good.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. How are
Naeem.
you?
Alhamdulillah. Naeem, how you doing, bro?
Post computer difficulties, I'm doing all
You're
right.
doing fine.
Alhamdulillah.
You're doing fine. Alhamdulillah. It's so great to have you guys on. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for taking the time during this weird era that we're living in right now, this pandemic, to join me on Real Time and talk about y'all's journey as Native Deen. Thank you all so much for taking the time for doing this. Quickly, if y'all don't mind, either one of y'all could answer this. If y'all could just briefly introduce Native Deen to those who don't know who you guys are.
Take it away, Naeem.
All right. Native Deen is a group that was started in 2000. Do you want to call us a nasheed group, rap group? We are three guys who grew up as Muslim in the U.S. and who are highly influenced by many different types of music. Um, I guess the strongest would be like hip hop, R&B, and all these,
Mm-hmm.
but we've had influences from all over. But we started our group Billy, from our friendship that started when we were like still in high school, and then before that,
I
and
see.
that grew into eventually what has been this band that has, alhamdulillah, been able to travel around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and tour in Africa, parts of Europe, throughout the Middle East, and parts of Asia as well. And
Mm-hmm.
2000, we're celebrating 20 years of this band. So
That is amazing.
yeah.
Abdul Malik, any additional comments on that?
No, he summed it up, and I think it's been a learning experience for myself and for everybody. It's just like constant development, improving of so many aspects. Whether it's writing, whether it's performance, whether it's just outreach in the community.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, that's all I can say.
That's amazing. So I guess Naeem, you did touch on it a little bit, like how did the band form? So you said that you guys were friends in high school, I guess back in the day.
Well, if you, at least me and Abdul Malik, we knew. I met Abdul Malik when I was like 13, 14 years old. We were at a camp in the East Coast put on by an organization called, I think that was probably a MENA camp, but Muslims in North America. They're still around, but probably had a lot more activity when we were younger. And they would do
Mm-hmm.
these Thanksgiving weekend camps and conferences, and we became friends. And then during those events, they would always have a portion of the night that was dedicated to like entertainment.
Of
Either like
course,
last
yes.
night or something like this. And we were some of the kids that would always kind of have something to share at that point. We met Joshua like like years after me and Abdul Malik were friends, when we were probably like 16, 17 years old,
Mm-hmm.
going to a camp where the organization MENA had already put out what was called its first MENA Raps tape.
Nice.
Tape, like not literal and not in the figurative, like
Yeah.
a mixtape, but a literal mixtape of amateur young Muslim performers
Mm-hmm.
who wrote songs and raps, and even some dhikr, that was
Yeah.
inspired by being born here in the U.S.
Oh, that's amazing. So before we continue on, for everybody who's watching, if y'all have any questions for myself or for Native Deen, leave them in the live chat, and I'll be looking over and passing the message along if y'all have anything y'all want to discuss or inquire about. Okay, so I guess moving on. What I guess inspires the lyrics of your songs? Most of the time when y'all release an album, there's a generic theme, and I always feel like, I mean, obviously being a fan of y'all, I always notice that it's directly talking about social issues. So I guess where does this come from?
Want to
Go ahead,
start,
Ramon.
Naeem?
No, I always have an answer for everything, but you go. You start, and I'll jump in.
Well, okay. So we were inspired. The three of us were all inspired differently, I think, when it comes to our music. We all have different music, that genres that we kind of pull from. Um, but I think growing up in America, growing up as Muslim youth in America, we, you know, the question usually people get is like, why did you choose rap? Why did you choose
Yeah,
rap?
or hip
But
hop or
or
whatever.
hip hop. Why'd you choose hip hop? But there was not really a conscious choice. It's just like, what you were listening to, what was around you, what you were vibing to. And I think this is a good message for people or youth of today. They look into what they're into and they try to um, do something that will help the community, something that is positive. And that's the beauty of Islam. You have Islam. They say it's like a river, and then you can see it's the color of what's below it, but the water is beautiful and clear. So I don't know, Naeem, what do you have to say? What are
Yeah,
your thoughts?
my thoughts on it would be a couple things. If we're talking about, I would say when we initially first started out, it's just we're focused on we were kids, young Muslims, grow up in America, telling our story and telling what we were feeling and we're dealing with. I think that we started to have some change with Native Deen. I think when we worked with, or I mean, I don't know, I won't say change, but but when we started to work with Yusuf Islam, like on our first album, like before we were traveling as just the songs we had written from our youth and doing this. So, and I remember we were with Brother Yusuf, and some of the things that he was pushing on from his perspective was like keep making things kind of very universal that people can get and understand this faith of ours, and not only just speaking to the Muslim community, because we know that like our primary target is that, and we talked about it, like people who are trying to raise young Muslim youth, in America, and that's really our focus. But we also wanted to do something that was gives people a understanding of Islam and these really broader things. Like Abdul Malik, I think he probably does it best. So he has songs about you know the environment, like our Earth, or there are songs that we're writing that are about just like faith and forgiveness, and any faith or any can pick that up. Even when you talk about like our famous "Not Afraid to Stand Alone," really just
Yeah.
is about standing up for justice, period, even or against peer pressure, against what is happening. And even though the context, we have some context that might be more relevant to Muslims, but the whole thing, we met non-Muslim people who would be like, not afraid to stand alone for what's right.
Yeah.
I want my son or my daughter to be able to hear these messages. So
That's amazing, guys. I guess moving on from that, like in terms of the when facing the Muslim community with and presenting your work, I guess were y'all ever faced with any adversity because you guys used music? I know this can open up a can of worms, but like I guess in y'all's experience, how did y'all deal with that adversity, and how did y'all overcome that challenge? Because the controversial,
yeah,
semi-controversial topic of music is quote unquote haram or forbidden in our religion, etc., etc.
right. You start them all, and then I can. And he can ask me about anything except maybe complex math that I'll have an answer. And even then, I'll go with the answer
All
C.
right. Well, okay. So yeah, of course, there was always an issue about instruments, and in fact, there was a gradual progression
And I've
from
noticed that too.
from when we basically were with like just a drum, just like two drums, conga
Yeah.
sets, right? And sometimes that even
Upset people.
caused some issues. But then as the community warmed up a little bit more to more percussion instruments, we added percussion, um, we added what do you call it? Tuned
Xylophones.
percussion, xylophones,
Yeah.
different type of percussion instruments. A lot of our tracks that we use electronic sounds, artificial,
Synthesizers.
yeah, synthetic sounds and that type of thing. So basically, we try to keep a pulse on the community and see, what they're comfortable with, because the whole goal is the message. The whole goal is the message.
Right.
Of course.
Um, and I actually I feel like it's changing again too, and so I'm keeping an eye on it. I feel it's going a different way now. Um,
I
what
like
do
to
you
hear.
think, Mike?
I like to hear what you're saying, where it's going. I would say, as far as like difficulties, I mean, of course, like I think when we were getting going, I mean, even music aside, just you know, I always feel like our community has this love hate relationship. It's
Yes.
just their little dark secret.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To so it's like calm down. So you have like so you'd have like either if it wasn't instruments, it would be the genre. You guys are
hmm
rapping, and what's rap about, and what are those? What are the things that go with that? Okay, boom. Now you're on stage. Can you move? Or just go stand behind that podium. Don't do anything. Sit
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and do your performance. All right. Oh, boom. Now you got drums. So definitely, I would say that like Abdul said, like our first and foremost, as we were, especially when we were younger, we were given kind of this thing to say percussion only by the
hmm
people who were kind of funding us and helping us do, especially in the mental apps days.
Yeah.
And we kind of held that because we were saying we didn't want to turn people off
Yeah.
by having too much of one thing, so they wouldn't hear what we had to say, because what we were saying we felt was paramount. And I think as we grew and we evolved as time went on, like one, part of the community, but two, these are things that we were already into. The Malik was already like kind of self-taught on piano and keyboards already.
hmm
I grew up with all manner of kind of genres of music, and eventually like learned to play guitar on pretty much on my own. Um,
Yeah.
so these were things that were us anyway. But there are all types of controversies. Like even I think there are times at times, even especially when you're in this really hyper racialized moment that we're in right now, or not even
hmm
not this moment. It is what it's been. What
Yeah.
it's been. There are even times I've seen even communities deal with us differently. Three black guys performing
hmm
versus five Pakistani kids performing,
hmm
or these three safe Native Deen guys versus this other three or four black dudes getting on stage. Like, what's happening? So
Yeah.
so there's all manner of whatever. But I think we've always kind of tried to do our best to focus on, look, we have people to talk to. I mean,
hmm
there's stories I could tell you, like we were over international, overseas, where we got literal death threats
Oof.
when we were touring in Tanzania. Death
Wow.
threats.
Because
But
of just strictly instrumentation, or the racial factor, or
the Tanzania thing was more like venue, where it
oh.
was like you're gonna have Native Deen in this huge music festival with all these
Mm,
other mainstream artists and doing
right.
all the things they do, and they literally said if they perform, we cannot we won't be held accountable for what will happen, or something like weird like that. Like
Right. Okay.
so everybody's got their own, like, everybody has their own, like,
precautionary
Well, they got their
things.
own issues, but we were always most of the times we were focused on one, trying to talk to the youth and talk to people who need this.
Yeah.
It's if it isn't for you, turn it off. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not trying to make people music listeners. That was never our
Hmm.
thing to create music listeners. They're people who needed this message in this way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we filled that void. So yeah.
Okay, that's an amazing answer. Did y'all ever feel like y'all were aiming to be mainstream, or just or an alternative, or like what was the goal, I guess, with Native Deen when y'all saw the popularity, rise over time, the attraction, like what was going through y'all's head, like, in terms of direction? Okay, how are we moving forward with the attention that we are getting naturally, because mashallah, y'all are producing, and y'all were producing great content, great music, and then on top of that, the music
And the
videos
great
were
content
quality.
stopped is what he just said, Abdul.
What did he say?
Wow. He just said the great content stopped. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Hey, there's always a little truth in Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, the
But
quality of y'all stuff was different than everybody else, in terms of like
Okay.
the same niche, right? The niche
Right.
audience, right? The Muslim
Right.
crowd. So y'all wanted to be the forefront, like, and that's what I
Yeah.
admired about you guys, is that y'all did it with ihsan, right? It's a concept in our faith, to do things with excellence, and that means professional quality, and also in terms of which is my arena, the video aspect, the film aspect. Y'all took it, your production value seriously when y'all were producing the music videos for some of these hits, and so what was going through y'all's mind in terms of the direction?
I tell you what it was tough for me in the beginning days. So Josh isn't here. He's gonna be, he doesn't get to defend himself. But I remember
Sure.
there was this feeling because I remember we being art, and it truly was. This wasn't the main thing that we were doing,
Yeah.
and it would always sting because he would always be like, "This isn't like this is a side thing that we're doing,"
Right. It's
and
not y'all's full time job to do
it,
to be Native
yeah.
Deen.
But my thing was like I've never liked that as far as like as far even for the artist creates when they can create. Most like there are very few artists can only live on their artistry. They're doing like he's a I know a person who's a solo artist. She teaches voice. She
Hmm.
writes. She's done something else. She's like
Everything, her whole spectrum is her
in
craft.
order to be able to do her art. So
Yeah.
that's the story of the majority of artists. The majority of artists aren't Jay-Z who can just be like, I'm just gonna wake up and write raps all day long. And even he doesn't do that anymore, but he
Sure.
could. And
Right.
so it wasn't that so we were just like, again, if you're saying the word ihsan, we were really trying to just put out the best work that we could with a hope
Hmm.
and a goal that it would go around the world somehow, even though we had
Hmm.
no real way of doing it, that we just hoped
Hmm.
that people could get it. We would, and it was the people. It really wasn't like us so much of this master plan of
Yeah.
like, yeah, we had strategists, we had all these people who were dividing in the ad campaign. No, man, like we get to England and our first tour in 2000, like 2004, and the kids are singing intentions as we're singing intention, and it wasn't because we had been there before. It's because
Hmm.
people had shared it with their families. They came here, they
Hmm.
shared, they that so again for us, we if we did if we could have made this the only sole thing that we were doing, we
Hmm.
probably maybe we would have, but again, not just performing, like Deen TV,
Yeah.
all the community service stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
But at least for us, it we like there wasn't enough financial behind it at the time to be able
Yeah.
to sustain the life that we were, not that we were living like, making it
I
rain,
I
but
know. I know. I know.
but at least for us, our situation, it didn't go as commercial as say like a Maher Zain. And again, I don't know Maher Zain's like, I don't see his bank account statement
Sure.
or
Sure.
Sami Youssef or these guys, but we didn't feel that we had that kind of commercial success, but I feel we
Hmm.
had maybe like community exception success. And I don't know, Jamal, go ahead. what else you want to say on that?
No, no, I agree. I think though I tell you, life is always like as we got older, is got harder and harder to juggle. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, I think I know I have with my family. I have always had the conversation. It's like we discuss about okay going full time. We try to create these avenues, but I don't think it's just music in the Muslim community is such a at least
In
I
y'all's
could say at least in
experience.
yeah, and no, at least in the West, because if you go over to Indonesia and Malaysia,
Oh, you're
Turkey,
set.
yeah, they're I mean, there's no they've learned how to merge art
Culture.
and culture and Islam and
Mm.
positive. They've done it. They got movies. They got groups. So
Right.
many. But where we live, we are struggling with, and it's partly because this community has so many different elements. You got people from, actually, you don't got that many people from Indonesia and Malaysia. Most people from, the subcontinent region, Indian
Hmm.
subcontinent, India, Pakistan, people from the Middle East, and they
Hmm.
tend to actually have varying opinions about music. So
Mm.
Yeah.
the African American community never had. I mean, well, let me
No, no,
take that back.
you had some Salafi
You
brothers
got some
who
people.
I can name.
All
I
right,
can
take
start
that
some
back.
names. You want to get into it? No, but what can I add to it too? Is I think you can think about it too. Is like Native Deen as a group versus a solo act.
Correct.
Because we've also we're close with people like Dawood Warnsby and like Zayn. I won't
Yeah.
I'll put Zayn out because again Zayn had he has other kind of backing that helps him do what he's able to do, but
Yes.
still he's doing two things.
Zane
Dawood,
Bika, correct?
yeah,
That's who you're referring.
exactly. Dawood Warnsby is the perfect example. Dawood Warnsby is a solo artist
Hmm.
who writes a lot, and he has his catalog and it's doing what it can. You invite Dawood Warnsby to perform, he splits that check with no one.
Hmm.
If you come there, he only needs his
Guitar, his
guitar.
microphone.
And that's new. Before it was like Dawood Warnsby's going to show up with a little tabla about
Right,
the
right. A little
song
duff
and be
underneath
like,
him. Yeah.
"Can you see this rhythm of Allah?" So as opposed to the way we started building Native Deen, it's a lot of pieces. There's the three of us, and then
Yeah.
eventually we brought on a drummer, and then
Right.
eventually, and I know I pushed a lot of it, but then we brought on someone who's on the key, the steel pan, and
Yep.
electric.
To I guess to legitimize the showmanship of it.
Not legitimized, but just to produce, but to give more. We wanted
Right.
to give more. We wanted to do not.
Okay.
We were legitimate. I
Yeah.
think we were legitimate even with two congas.
Yeah.
We were
To have that
legitimate.
on stage, yeah, is different.
When you are a performer, you want to give more. You want to give more of the sound and more of the feel, and it
Right.
helps you give more when you sometimes
Hmm.
and we. I mean, at one point we were traveling like 6, 7, 8 deep.
Hmm.
That's a difficult thing to monetize in a way that the community
Yep.
wasn't there for that.
They're not there for that.
Especially
No.
now that music has changed. You can't sell CDs anymore, doesn't it?
Nope.
Right.
It's all digital.
All digital, and so that avenue, uh, you don't have that avenue as much. So
Hmm.
I'm sorry, and generally, like I said, but again, I think there's nothing. I don't think any of us look down on what we've done and where we've come and where we've taken it.
No.
Again, the main thing was, do I feel good about what I wrote?
Hmm.
This message or this work, did I put my all into it? And I remember even Isan from Outlandish, he asked
Hmm.
when we were touring, and he asked me what I wanted to
I
do.
saw him. I saw him, you man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like, what I wanted to do, because he was like, if you guys really wanted to you could be out here doing what we're doing.
Hmm.
And I was like, yeah, there's that, but my biggest thing was, man, I want to put out good work,
Hmm.
lifelong songs that become a folk song. When you see those amus sit around together
Yeah.
after dinner having tea, and one starts, and then everybody's like, "Hey, what is that?" I want to write that. I wanted
Yeah.
to write that.
Mhm.
And I feel we wrote some of those. Alhamdulillah.
Absolutely, mashallah. Like, I remember, like, sometimes growing up, from the first album, Deen, there's always, intentions. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit,
Okay.
later, but um, I did have another question. It
I
did
took you
slip
on
my mind.
tangent. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, no, no. It's fine. It's fine. I like this, the conversation that we're having. Um, uh, I guess, yeah. So tying it back into, I guess, doing it with ihsan, doing it with excellence, but like the why.
Yeah.
Why are y'all doing this? Why did y'all come together? Why are y'all trying to put yourselves out there to have that message? What is it that you're trying to, I guess, combat socially through your music, of course?
Call Abdul Malik. You why? I talk too much.
So, I mean, I guess you could narrow it down to maybe three things. Okay. First, we definitely want to bring the ourselves first. I mean, a lot of the stuff is for ourselves. All the stuff we've written. It
Right.
doesn't mean that we're like preachy on people. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So a lot of it is reminders to ourselves to just develop their relationship with the divine. To have their creator. So that's one. Just to develop a stronger relationship. Two, to be basically be proud of who they are. So a lot of the songs we wrote is talking about just being proud of who you are as a Muslim. I know because growing up as a Muslim, you know, and you know post 9 we pre 9/11, post 9/11, there's been issues.
We were always the other. Like, who
Yeah,
are
yeah,
you guys?
right,
Nobody. It's not been defined. So who are you guys? Kind of
right.
thing.
So defining that, being proud of our identity, that's the second thing. And the third thing I think is the community aspect of we have songs that really encourage people to um, help others,
Hmm.
and to we have some songs that talk about social issues, whether it's
Hmm.
feeding the hungry people, whether it's being stand up for, whether it's doing small deeds,
Hmm.
whether it's making sure. So there's the internal thing between you and your creator. Then there's the self
External
identity,
service and self identity.
and
Yes.
then there's and self identity.
Right.
Yeah.
So divine relationship with the divine, the creator, and then uh, service to others, and then self identity. Those are like the three
Those were kind of the
main.
things. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's more, but
Yeah.
if you want to narrow it down,
Right.
what do you think, Naeem?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And then again, like, I mean, if you, those are maybe, those, I would also just say then, and I think what happens, and this goes into this whole music is haram, and this, like, these are things that if you talk to Daoud about,
Hmm.
like, they're people, this is how we talk, and this is how we express ourselves, and this just happens naturally. Abdul Malik is writing lyrics probably now as we're talking,
Hmm.
and and that should be celebrated and not needing a reason like this, like it's this is what we enjoyed doing growing up, and even now
Yeah.
that we have this want to express ourselves musically, and alhamdulillah we've been given a chance to put it in a way that's also remembrance, and also is that helpful for others, and
Hmm.
also that people have enjoyed, and that's like been the really big benefit. Again, like, I mean, and even I guess, like, if you talk about our own personal families upbringing, being the children of people who were a part of black movements growing up.
Yeah.
Um, Purpose,
Hmm.
taking your thing seriously, was
Yep.
all in it. So, and if we were gonna do a music, or if we are gonna do something, it wasn't just gonna be entertaining. And
No.
it's okay if it's entertaining, but it's gonna say something. It's gonna move you. It's gonna make you think. It's gonna be something current. And that's kind of, and I think that happened a lot with us. It wasn't just a fun time, but it was fun.
Hmm. Yeah.
So that's what I would add to it too. But everything he said, and adding else pieces.
That's beautiful. Mashallah. Yeah,
There's
go
one,
ahead.
yeah, I think also, like Naomi brought up a great point. It's like, some people when they after they get off of work and they're tired, and they'll turn on TV, they'll play a game, they go, play tennis or something like that. For
Yeah.
me, what I do, I enjoy writing songs. That's what I do for, like, relax.
Fun. To
Make a beat. Do something. You know, and so I think that's very important for young people who are interested, because a lot of times nowadays the draw of it might be the fame, might be
Right.
Instagram followers, might be whatever. But
Like,
for me, I dude, something happens, I feel it, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have fun with it, and sometimes
yep.
uh, I'm up to like 2 in the morning, and I'm look at the time and I don't realize it. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's 2 o'clock. I got to work the next day. I got to stop this, right? And
Yeah.
it's just because it's something that you enjoy, and it's something that you feel that, if it turns out good, it will really benefit people.
So I guess how did y'all distinguish this venture? Forming the band, writing lyrics, and the whole process, right, of becoming a group. How did you distinguish yourself from being amateurs to being professionals? And versus, oh, this is a hobby versus this is I take this very seriously.
well, the literal example is you got to get paid.
Yeah,
So,
you have to get
so
paid.
we started getting paid.
At the end of the day, it's always about money.
No, no. Well, I mean, the difference between being a professional and a hobbyist, it is normally you don't
Yes,
get paid
yes,
for your hobby.
of
Your
course.
your hobby is what you do on your off time, your whatever. But
Hmm.
even though I remember, even in the early days when we started talking about, we would show up and it would be like a free thing, and because it was just a hobby thing, that way we were
Yeah.
just like three guys, a couple of drums, we show up to your wedding and like get it on,
Yeah.
or and it can our friends kind of like, I mean, we were all solo on our own, and then in 2000 we were living in the same space, and our friends kind of helped push us together and do this
Hmm.
thing, and to do the first show together as a group, and then it felt right and we kept going.
Hmm.
And then I guess over time we started to see that there's a real need. If it wasn't like we were like, I even remember you just saying that maybe it was a bad thing. I said we're gonna keep going until the real guys come through,
Hmm.
until the real, like, heavy hitters come through. We're just gonna keep doing our thing, because the real guys are gonna wake up one day and just be
Yeah.
monsters, take over the whole thing. But those guys didn't show up, or at least some other guys showed up, and people were like, "Yeah, yeah, join Native Deen and those guys." Or Native, we still want to hear from Native Deen. We still want to hear from Semi Yusuf or
Yeah.
these other guys. We want to hear from all of them. So I think for us was, meeting people and they're telling us what the music had done for them,
Hmm.
um, and we were being brought places, and certain people started to take it serious, and we started to take it more serious. It
Hmm.
wasn't just that
A
we're just
phase or just a
just
hobby.
something we do, just hey, and it could have been, but I will say that, and I'll put a credit to Josh. There's certain, everybody has different personalities they bring to the band.
Hmm.
I think one of the great things that Josh brought to the band is because he's ex-military. He has a
Oh,
very kind of like, you
discipline.
know, yeah, there's a discipline that comes with that.
Yep.
So, so that when you have someone like that disciplined in a thing, and then you bring all the artistry in it, if the discipline guy can just make sure we all stay in line,
Hmm. Single file.
artists can just kind of go and do their artist thing, and the discipline guy's just like, okay, don't worry. So, and that's kind of what we did. Josh was like, he's the one, he's making sure the contracts we're getting signed early days. We need to have management. We need to have all these pieces, and I'm just
Hmm.
like, but it's got to sound. It's got to sound. What's the
Yeah.
sound like? And but it don't sound. I want this. That was my deal. And Abdul Malik is just like, I'm writing songs.
Hmm.
This is what I'm doing.
So each one
I'm
of y'all brought a flavor to the group. Each one of y'all
yeah.
brought value, and y'all collaborated. Y'all worked together. I know some of y'all did do your own separate projects, but that's just because of, I guess, scheduling or constraints, or it was just more
No,
like
that's
it was
not.
mutual that, oh, I want to do my own thing, not in the name of Native Dean, but representing myself, right?
No, no. I mean, I mean, okay. So there's a couple things. Like, definitely, when you're in a group, you lose some things. Like the one the thing they say, like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go further, you go together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when you're in a group, when you have an idea, um, there's a bunch of other people who can jump in and be like, no, yes, this, that
Right.
kind of thing. So in that, so you have that. So, and that can be difficult. And I'm the worst with it. I'll just say that.
I think we all are.
I'm the worst. Like, no, that's how it's supposed to sound. When I said that same thing 3 times in a row, yeah, that's yeah, I like that. But and I think over time, you when you get a chance to one work with other people. I know Dane, Lamal had done some things with Zane. Some other friends of mine I've done some things with over time. Just kind of,
Mhm.
and it gives you a little break from one constraint, and you get to
Yep.
feel something else. And then when we came at the end of doing all these Native Dean albums, we were like, kind of struggling what's going to happen next. And I had
Mm-hmm.
always been pushing this idea, like I'd like to try to do like a solo thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Lamal's already got like he's got enough material to do a solo album now somewhere. He doesn't have to wait for
Sure.
it. It's
I see you grinning, Abdul
I,
Malik.
it's
it's true.
ready to go. But I jumped. But so then, and I can remember part of it was a suggestion from our old manager. I remember Matt just said it too. He was like, well, maybe you guys should just all do a solo. So we
Mm-hmm.
decided that we would do 3 solos, and it would be in the Native Dean paid for them. So it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like some,
Right.
you know, on its own. It was paid for by the band. We decided budgets together and how money
Mm-hmm.
could be spent. We didn't have really artistic. Each one had their own artistic license. There wasn't any rules or anything. If it was something like insanely crazy, we probably would have jumped in. But everybody got a chance to do their thing, and be supported by the band.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Malik, what you want to say about that?
No, you said it. You said it right. Yeah, that's important. It was that it was we paid. It wasn't like I paid for it out of my own pocket. No, we all came together and we paid for each. Basically, we paid for each other's solo albums. To
Mm-hmm.
be honest, that's how it worked.
Okay. So I guess kind of shifting gears just a little bit. Which songs? Well, first of all, how you all have 3 albums, correct? It's Dean, uh, Not Afraid, and then Remedy, correct? So
Well,
of those three
well,
albums,
let's just say
okay, okay,
look at a couple of things. So let's just say technically, we're gonna check because that was that's the whole thing of the Malik I was calling earlier today. So when we first came together as a band, there was one more Minna Raps album that we are going to do. So it was Minna Raps 5. And if you see it, it was supposed to, I don't know if it says it was featuring Native Deen.
uh,
And that was like our first as a band, Native Deen. It wasn't called Native Deen's album, it was Minna's album, but that was
featuring
Native
Native
Deen
D.
maybe first together and
Right.
weirdly together because we were
Does
all
it say
cool.
that?
Huh?
Does it say featuring Native Deen on there?
It was supposed to. It was supposed to. I
It
don't know if it
might. It might.
actually
I
did.
have to look. I have the. I have the. I'll look. Yeah.
So
Verify,
then
verify.
after that,
Uh huh.
we started working with, not long after that, and we were running around all those songs. We started working with Yusuf Islam,
Mm-hmm.
team at Jamal Records and Mountain of Light, all those guys. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when you get the Deen,
Mm-hmm.
which has its own story. Then after that, like you said, then after that is I'm Not Afraid to Stand Alone. Then after that is The Remedy. Then from there, we did a project with Janae Jamshade. Allah be pleased with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then so there's this Enlightened Reflections. Then from there, we were like, okay, what do we do next? And then the solo pieces started to come. Then there are 3
Gotcha.
solo.
So the reason why I bring this up is, I mean, do y'all as a group, even though y'all blood, sweat, and tears in every single track that y'all put out, collectively in the albums, are there any favorites of y'all's that are personal to you?
Of course. Dumal.
Starting with like, let's just talk about the main three, right? Deen, Not Afraid to Stand Alone, and the Remedy. Which of the like which songs stick out from those albums to you guys, like as your personal favorites?
This is very hard.
No pressure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
See, for
honestly,
me, yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead,
go
go
ahead.
ahead, go. No,
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 no.
go. What you
No,
got?
I was gonna say, and I'm gonna just say this and then jump out the way and let you say your thing because I was gonna say one of my most favorite ones is not even recording any of those. It's the Layla to Qadr song. It's something about that song, and it was like it's one of those extra ones that Abdul Malik was just like, I gotta teach kids about Layla to Qadr, his own kids, and then the rest all the kids, and
Yeah.
then and in that song I learned how to say that dua that you say in the last 10 nights that I just heard people go waff 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 waff. I was like, I don't know what the imam just said,
اللهم
but
انك عفو وانت بالعفو فاعف عنا.
yeah, I was just all over here was waff 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 waff. I'm in church, like, waff 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 waff. You're hoping a lot of people talk about, but the that but it was something about that song that rings, and I know even from my mom. My mom talks about like it's just something about that song that like. So for me, that's one of my all-time favorites that we did in Domalico.
I don't know. I can't really place because I get tired of them.
I appreciate the honesty.
I mean, I guess you could say because certain things like I can think of the songs that I've written and I feel like I think I felt there's one song that's The Test. It wasn't that popular. I don't think it was
I
that
know.
I don't think it wasn't that. I don't think that it was that great of a song. Like I feel like, but I feel like I put a lot of time into the writing of that. You know what I'm saying? And the rhyme schemes and trying to getting all that right. And so I don't think that's my favorite, but I feel it like I like it. Was that?
You have a strong affinity for it, that one.
Well, the writing. Just because I put time into it, and I felt the writing came out good. Whether the beat came out good, whether the performance, all the rest of those things, maybe could have been better. But there are other ones like that came out that came out really good. I remember we were talking about songs like Deen, I think that we named the album Deen, because we were sure that one was going to be the top hit. But when Josh heard it back from the producer, he was not happy, So if you ask him, he might be like, yeah, Deen, was it? But then things change during the process. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's so hard for me to say
any specifics,
any specific one that like the favorite is. Do we have a favorite one that we really like to perform that it's fun? I guess Not Afraid to Stand Alone. We all like that, right?
Yes. Yes.
We enjoy performing that the most fun because we have the movements and MUS. That's fun.
Yeah, MUSLIM, right? That I remember growing up and watching you guys. When y'all came through to Dallas and did a performance, and I was there. I remember like that was a performing one, but it was never recorded until y'all did the second album, and y'all left it at the very end.
It was on the Minaraps.
It was on the Minaraps 5. Man, that's what I'm saying. The Minaraps 5, and some of the story around that too was like I mean, the Muslim might not know remember some of this, but okay. So growing up in the Imam Warthi Muhammad community, spending some time, both of us spent time there for a time, in other communities as well. They had this song like about Muslim, MUSLIM, I am Muslim, and I was like, man, we should redo this, but we do this, whatever. And Abdul Malik was like, he was like, cool, and he goes to like Bangladesh and like for like the summer or something. And it's just writing, and then I think I wrote, and then I wrote. He came back, he had something, and then I wrote the rap part for my piece, and then we just kind of, and it just stuck, and people were just kind of like, that carried that kind of Muslims like anthems. Muslims love anthems. They want chanty, like kind of
Marchy stuff.
Yeah. And alhamdulillah, I mean, it's that's definitely, like you said, it's a fun song. It's a good time to see people, because people, they remember their childhood in it, and which is
Hmm.
crazy because there's, the song is so old,
Yeah.
and there's so many people who see their childhood. You'll see someone who's got like kids and be like, I remember. And
Yeah.
then you have like kids now that we go, like, I remember we sing this at my Sunday school.
Yeah.
So that's fun. I would say also for me, I mean, songs that meant a lot for me, the more when he wrote Zembiluni, that was like,
Oh.
when he
Oh.
first heard that, I almost was scared, because I was like, yo, can we actually do this? And then I listened to it again, and I was like, I want to do this. And then he's like, it's too late. Zane Vika's doing this, and I'm like, grr.
Mm.
But so then when he wrote the I had song, my middle name's Bilal, so I was like, I'm gonna sing this. I don't care,
Yeah.
Zane or you or anybody. I'm singing this song.
Yes.
So those have some, and also, like, for me, my ones that I've written, like Looking Glass is like
Yes.
a big one for me, because I'm always asking Allah for forgiveness for something dumb I've done.
Yeah.
And the Rain song meant a lot for me, because
Rain song. Rain
yeah,
song. Yeah.
so
I think the Rain song is my favorites that Naeem wrote. But there's also Life's Worth. That has a lot of good imagery in it.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Definitely. I mean, I would say, again, this is just my opinion. Forgive me if I offend, but I think
well,
as an album, I think number two was the best. In terms of like, just again, my personal preference, like I just liked most of the songs as a whole in that album more than just the few from the first and third one. I loved all of them,
we
but
can
just
probably explain why that was like that.
well, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Like, the first album, we were with, and it was, and like I said, wallahi, like, we learned a lot with Brother Yusuf's team. I mean,
Hmm.
he was in that, like, when we thought like he's gonna be on the boards, like working the boards, and he's gonna be like, Abdul Malik, sing it this way, but that it didn't exactly happen that way. But we learned a lot from that experience, but it was a very kind of like, we had a structure over us, which we'd never had that before.
Hmm.
Like I said, we finished the songs, and they had their producer.
Yep.
They, okay,
Mastering and
come back and
everything.
do this, and then we were like, what is this? Especially in the beginning, but then we got it back to some pieces and that was kind of like our thing. The next album, and this was even something, and there are a lot of groups that are like this. If you look at the Fugees' first album was like, it was okay, but their second album is the score,
Bam.
and you're
Just
like,
punching through.
so for us, the second album, Not Afraid to Stand Alone, was like, we
Hmm.
got out of the contract with Brother Yusuf and them. They were allowed us out of our contract and be like, we're going to try something different.
Hmm.
Um, and we thank Allah for that. They could have been like, no, no,
Yeah.
no, and a bunch of stuff. But
It could have easily become political.
yeah,
At
it
that.
could easily. But the history of him and his music and the people we're dealing with, they understood we needed to do our thing.
Yeah.
And when we were doing our thing, it was just us. It was just Abdul Malik doing most of the productions.
Hmm.
We were writing on our own from our own perspective when we were doing our thing. We brought
Hmm.
in people like Anas. Did Anas help on that at all, or Anas came? Anas, no.
no, I think no. We did that all at Studio 8121.
Yeah, yeah. So this is so that's our thing. Our just the three of us. A little bit of help. We got help on Rain Song with Zane Bika. I wrote that, but I sent it to
Yeah.
Zane. He came back with bits, but sang it in that space that he's the 8121 place. That
Hmm.
something happened in that space, and that studio doesn't even exist anymore.
No.
So you're hearing like the difference between this superstructure, which we learned a lot from, that we
Versus
learned
the
a lot,
organic
versus
feel.
just like, man, now that we got control, we never giving it back.
For sure. And I have to say, you mentioned Zemiluni, and I I kid you not, it is probably, in my opinion, one of the best halal romantic songs out there.
There you go.
And it's so beautiful. I actually sometimes when I start singing it, I remember I catch myself. I'm choking. I start choking because of like how beautiful the marriage between the Prophet Muhammad SAW and his wife Khadija was, and how that
Yeah.
was, sorry, it's supposed to be like the example that we should be having in our marriages, right? And from that, because I guess I think about it from like a bigger perspective, that when you have a beautiful marriage between a couple, and then they have children, and then their children see that example, and then that they want to emulate that, and that just cycles over and over for the generations and generations. And then of course their peers, right, when they are being beautiful to one another, and then other couples see that, then they want to emulate that as well. So it's a domino effect of having a peaceful society essentially, right? And so that's why, like, when I hear those words, and I sing along with it, and when he remembered the jewelry from her, and it hits me so hard, subhanallah, like how much love he had, and we know the hadith, when with his other wives, he would mention Khadija multiple times, and they would have not bad jealousy, but like, I guess, envy, that I wish we were like her, to the Prophet ﷺ. So it was just a beautiful. I have to say that Zembiluni is one of the best halal romantic songs out there.
Awesome.
It was beautiful. So I guess let's just move on a little bit and quickly, I guess, wrap up. So the latest projects that y'all have been working on, and I've been noticing, and I know your audience has as well, is the launch of Deen TV. Now, what is Deen TV, and what is its purpose?
Oh, I thought you were going to say One True. Joshua's new album. So Joshua's has an album coming out.
Okay.
So you guys check that out.
That is not in the description below, by the way.
What's that?
I'm just saying, like, that is not in the description below, but it's just real quick.
Oh yeah, don't look in
don't look down there. But if y'all do want to follow Native Deen on their social media and check out their work, of course, check the links in the description. Support them, invite them. Inshallah, maybe have a virtual concert for your next event or something while we're in this pandemic of Corona. But continue on, Abdul Malik.
Yeah, so Deen TV, we decide, it goes back to the same concept of minute raps, bringing artists together and trying to create a platform where people can put their stuff, they can put their art, whether it's music, whether it's acting, whether it's film, anything on Deen TV channel. And the whole concept initially was to create a TV channel, we were the first 24/7 online entertainment channel.
Yes.
It's like the first 24. Yeah, we have a lot of. We weren't the first.
No. I know. What I was going to say is
online channel, entertainment channel. There you go.
There you go. I remember one of my
the nomenclature.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember one of my older music videos was featured on Deen TV. As Long as I'm Fasting. It was an oldie back in like the earlier 2010s.
Man.
Good times.
Yeah, man. So that's the point. We try to bring artists, and the fact is, we actually want to connect with you more, because now we're moving less into this live thing, because live is now becoming, everybody's doing live. Like we're live now,
We're live right now.
We want to focus more on creating like really high quality cinematic productions,
Absolutely.
Whether it's music videos or series, mini-series, and so that's the goal. So we got to stay in touch, man, because that's your thing, right?
Absolutely. I actually wanted to comment about this earlier when Naeem had mentioned about the lack of support, basically not being able to financially support yourself in the arts. Right. And I had my own struggles. Right. I consider myself a filmmaker / videographer. Videographers to pay the bills, as we talked about in my last live stream with actually Murad. I'm sure y'all are familiar with him. Yeah. So I had him on the show and we talked about this. Right. what's the difference between a filmmaker and a videographer? So videographer is to pay the bills, but a filmmaker is, somebody who's more into the craft. And so my own struggle to get into that space was that I had the naysayers. Even as I was going through college, that they would consistently say, no, you can't do it. There's no money in it, et cetera, et cetera. But what we see now is, I ignored them. And then I went on to still learn the craft. I had to switch my majors in college as another, that came as another barrier for me. But I went ahead and still learned on my own. And I just tried to keep going and keep producing. And then, alhamdulillah, after college, I landed my first full-time job doing AV work, and then that led me to another job, and that led me to another job, and now we're all, in isolation and quarantine, but we're all using high-quality cameras for our live streams, for our video conferences, and we're all trying to create content, with the boom of social media, of course, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. We're all trying to invest, to create high-quality content. And so I think it's very important, just as a life lesson to, you can take your passion and eventually you can monetize it, right? You can make a living from it. And, of course, you have to keep the side hustles going. You have to, you can make it start as a side hustle, but then eventually it would become your main source of income, because at the end of the day, you have your life to live, and, life costs money, unfortunately. So you have to, pay the bills, you have to take care of a family, etc. So you have to keep
T-shirt.
going.
Life costs money, unfortunately. That one.
Dibs,
I'm a
dibs,
big
trademark.
just life costs money.
Your thoughts on that, guys?
No, I would say and yeah, and not to kind of, I guess, to go back on what I said earlier. Like, I think there's definitely ways you can figure out how to make it work, and make it work. And we want to make sure that people are involved in the arts. I have so many artists in my house that I'm
It's hard to
trying to
keep
make
up.
sure they also know how to not just draw but use Photoshop and a bunch of other stuff, so they can make
Yeah.
they can make a mass flyer or a new logo for somebody come down the road and get and feed themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that it is quite possible, and alhamdulillah we did. It's a Native Deen. I mean, alhamdulillah, for when there were times where those tours really made a difference, and there were also times when we came back from tours where I remember even the Deen. You were talking about Deen, the Not Afraid to Sound Low album. We went on a long tour. We went we were like maybe like 4 or 5 countries, something like this, and came back, and all that money went towards the album. I remember that. That, like, it was like, all I came back home was like the per diem, and it was like, thank God I have another gig, because because if I wouldn't been able to do that. Come home, and be like, oh yeah, honey, all that went to the album, so I'm gonna go hit up, start serving at Applebee's. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's a hustle behind it. There's ways that you can make these things happen. And people are doing it. People are doing it. I think I think in our side of it is it's a little tougher to get, like, a huger structure. Solo artists, those are a little bit easier to, I can see manipulating those things, and like kind of like a one, like you're saying, like not having like a film studio with 20 people you got to feed and all like that. But you said I'm one man, one camera. I hire a crew when I need them, and
multiple cameras, actually
doing this. And I think, and eventually someone will crack it. Like, I mean, like, I think the group thing, we're still waiting for it. I mean, we saw some things happen with some other groups that came up, and then and I will say that's the one blessing I think that we've been able to say for our band, is that we've seen a lot of come and we've seen a lot of go. And we're, and alhamdulillah, we've been around. We're gonna try to do one more album for the people at least. I don't even like saying that way, but there's another Native Deen album, inshallah, coming out. Hopefully 2021.
Inshallah. That was, kind of my follow-up, what is the latest. So, I mean, let's go back to Abdul Malik. Sorry I know you were
I'm good.
talking about.
I'm good. I need to be quiet.
No, no,
You were
no.
talking about Deen TV. So yes, you want to bring on, filmmakers, and inshallah, in the future we can collaborate, and produce stuff as soon as, lockdown has been lifted 100%. And we can make that happen. So I guess you were saying that it's a platform, right? So would is the plan with Deen TV again is to give a voice, to the voiceless, having a platform and have it, people's original ideas be viewed. Is there any plans to make it a mainstream source of entertainment?
Um, is it? And you mean like an actual channel,
Right.
like a
So like
like
so instead of
British
being
like
just
Islam channel and that type of thing?
right. So instead of
So
just being solely like an internet show,
yeah,
essentially, right? It would be actually picked up by
a station.
a station of some sort, and they can broadcast it, to all their different outlets, and then they take care of, the marketing, and they have the financial backing for it. Like, is that the end goal? Like, where do y'all? What is the 5 year, the 10 year plan, etc. of Deen TV?
Yeah, actually, no, we did. We got a lot of we actually went down that route. We had some organizations actually fund us and try to make it into something that would be maybe picked up by like satellite station. We didn't get to that level,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I think what the main thing, and this might be a longer conversation. Maybe we have to talk again. I have to actually have to pre-answer, pre-answer.
No
But
problem.
Yeah.
we one of the reasons why we're still trying to figure out this whole like in the UK, it can
Mhm.
work. Islam
Yeah,
Channel, British Muslim TV, even though
they're all
British
established. Yeah,
no, it's just the community is a lot different. It's a lot
Yeah.
that's
smaller.
true.
Yeah.
That is true. Yes.
This thing, like I've learned so much about the community and media and video and the rise of now Netflix and Hulu and Disney
Hmm.
Plus and so the right now I don't know if there's an organization that wants to come and take us and put us on the satellite, sure, but
Hmm.
I'm still not sure if that is the future. If people are going to be
Hmm.
watching satellite, or if people are going to be right now. We're on Roku, we're on Apple TV, we're on
Hmm.
Fire TV, we're on
So
Live.
on-demand streaming platforms.
Yeah, we're on
Yeah.
all of those, so we're already on all those, and so and we have a lot of subscribers,
Yeah.
particularly on Roku. So the question is where is the future going? And I think nobody really knows. Is it the
Hmm.
more Netflix style thing that's getting more
Hmm.
popular? Um, so
So I mean
we're gonna
that
see,
that
we're gonna learn.
that that's interesting. I know we're going a little bit over the hour mark, but I just like if you notice the history of Netflix, for example, right? They started off as just a streaming service of movies that were in the theaters, and instead of getting on DVD at the time, now it's the digital age. So just to stream it straight onto your television, no discs, no players, none of that. It's just straight smart TV streaming it, right? And then because of all that time that they've been generating revenue and stuff, then they started putting out original content, right?
Right, right,
As a Netflix original show, a Netflix original film, and then those gained popularity, and then it just cycled from there, and they just so is Deen TV kind of wanting to do the same thing? I guess skipping the first step by uh, using other people's content, but rather creating original content from the get go.
I think right now it's both. I think we are
Okay.
definitely accepting content. I just posted a video from a brother, Ali Al Talib. He did a great rhyme about this current situation.
Mm-hmm.
That after the tragic death of George Floyd,
Yes.
um, you know, and so we're accepting stuff, videos, films, all that, music videos, raps, all that stuff, but we're also producing our own. So right now it's both. It's definitely both. I would even say it's 50-50. We're trying to produce our own stuff, plus
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to grab for people from other people. So, um, I guess is Netflix 50-50 right now? Produce their own and grab some
It's
others.
definitely not 50-50.
Not
I
50.
think
They
it's
got
I think it's way more like more of a 70-30 because they've been I noticed the transition when they were really pushing for their content to be, in front of everybody's eyes and putting everybody else's stuff in the back burner like, oh, this
Yeah,
was produced by a different studio, Warner Brothers, DreamWorks, whatever, but here's our stuff instead,
right.
right? But that's awesome. That's great, guys. If y'all want to check out Deen TV, that is linked in the description down below. Any last comments that y'all want to mention? Inshallah.
I'll just say for me real quick, John, because pushing on. Just Jazakumullah khair for your time today, and for all the fans over the years who have given us this opportunity to perform, to invite us into their neighborhoods, into their communities, into their cars, into their homes. There are a lot of artists who never get their stuff heard. We've been heard. We've toured. We've done all those things, and we're ever thankful for Allah, and we're also thankful for the people who've allowed us that. And we're not done yet. So
Beautiful, beautiful. We're not done yet. Y'all are
you know,
never gonna be done.
Allah, we got a little bit more for y'all, and keep us in your dua that we can keep creating meaningful, beautiful stuff that people benefit from, inshallah.
Inshallah. Abdul Malik.
I would like to say support Mustafa Talib. Make sure that you guys check out his channel. Make sure that you guys support all of the people around the Ummah who are trying to do positive and encourage people in their art and in their development. And make sure that you support them, inshallah. Click and subscribe,
All that
all.
stuff. Greatly, greatly appreciate it, guys. Thank y'all so much for being on Real Time, where we talk about film and television and everything in between. And I'll get to you guys in just a second. Jazakallah khair, and I'll catch up with y'all in just a minute. All right, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this live stream of Real Time, where we are live talking about film and television and everything in between. If y'all enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you hit that post notification down below so you are notified when we go live once again. And yeah, this is Mustafa Talib with Cinema King Productions, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.